Hello and welcome back to another video. So today is going to be a little bit of a mini haul along with a little bit of a mini rant and a little bit of a book review as well, and let you know what I'm currently reading. Well, I've just finished reading and yeah, so let's get into it. So it's a lovely Saturday today. Actually got sunshine in Glasgow, which has not been seen for a while, and it is my first day of freedom from my previous accommodation. My last flat is gone officially today, so yeah, I just decided to take myself out for a little treat since it was payday yesterday. And yeah, I decided to have a little bit of a jaunt around the town. It's been a while since I've been able to go out and just get some lunch and yeah, do a little bit of shopping, just hang out, go to a coffee shop as well. So yeah, I will show you what I got. So first up I went to WH Smith. And I didn't bring everything up that I got here. I usually try to buy the National Geographic History magazine. Usually WH Smith have it. The last few times the Wonder Street has not had it, which I'm a bit disappointed about. But instead I actually bought the National Geographic Traveller magazine instead, since it's still within my wheelhouse. I like travel stuff. And then funnily enough, one of the articles is actually on Sorrento, which I just went there in May. I don't know what my hair's doing. So yeah, WH Smith right now I've got on their 3 for 2 as it's back to school, which I was really excited about, and I love going in there. I love being anywhere that's got pens, highlighters, paper, notepads, you know, all the things that I definitely have too much of, but never stop wanting more. But yeah, so they had the 3 for 2 on, and I was trying to decide between things. So like one of the first things that I got was the Stabilo, I think the Swing Cool highlighters. I really like these ones because I'm not into pastel. I'm really not into pastel colours. So these ones have got slightly stronger hue to them. So I like those ones, and they're much easier for carrying about than the chunkier highlighters as well. So I got them. Excited, I can't remember how much specifically they were, but I got them. And then I wanted colouring pencils as well. Like I've got a wee tiny set. I'll show you here. I've got a wee tiny set of the WH Smith colouring pencils that I seemingly have had for years and never seem to have used. But I just wanted to have some more colours. So I think there was like £1 difference between this one, so this is the Staedtler ones. These were like maybe £1 dearer than the 24 pack of the WH Smith ones, but I just went for them. I kind of like this brand a bit better. Yeah, and it's got like a nice range of colours that are there, so I was quite excited about that. And then while I was looking and sort of getting distracted by what else I could get to go along with it. Was I going to get a sketch pad? Was I going to get a notepad? Was I going to get something? Lunch boxes were there as well, so I was kind of like looking around trying to decide what my third thing was going to be for 3 for 2. And then I was looking at gel pens, as I do, and I found the Sharpie S gel pens. So these are new-ish. I know they've only kind of come out in the last couple of years, not super new, but new-ish. But they had them for half price. So I think these were £5 something. Yeah. So I do like they're 0.7, but they've got like a little bit more of a grip than the other ones that I've got. So I'll show you. I'm pen fussy as well. It's not just the books for me. So I like that there's like a little bit more of a grip to the pen, if you can see that. Yeah, so I think it's quite similar to the Sarasa, like the Zebra Sarasa pens like that, but as I said before, like the Sarasa pens, I love them, but you're lucky if you get like 2 or 3 that you can actually use in the packets, since they all seem to dry up quite quickly. The Pilot ones do have a grip on them as well, but I think the S-Gel ones feels a bit more comfortable. I'm not sure how it is actually for writing. Let's try it. Yeah, it's quite... sorry, you can't see that. It's a bit doesn't quite feel as thin as the Pilot. I know they're meant to be 07 as well, but for some reason they just feel a bit thinner and scratchier. Whereas this is a bit more like the Sarasa pen. Yeah, so I'm happy with them. But then, in my eternal distraction, because there was, you know, noise and people in the shop, I went to the counter and paid with an actual person who neglected to mention that I did not get my 3 for 2. So I'm a bit disappointed by that, WH Smith. I should have had a third thing. I paid for 2 things. I should have had a third thing for free. And also the person on the till neither said to me that I'd missed the third thing, but also didn't give me a receipt. And then there was like another person pushing in before I should have asked for one, but before I had the chance to kind of say. So yeah, try not to let it actually ruin my day, because that's what I would do normally, but I'm trying not to let it ruin it, but I'm a bit annoyed, quite annoyed. So yes, aside from that, I didn't realise that at that moment. It was only when I got home that I realised that had happened. But we're not going to let it ruin it, because when I was on a high from that because I thought everything was great. Left there, went across to TK Maxx. And the last thing, it's hilarious, the last thing that my mum said to me yesterday was, don't buy any more books because I have enough books and there's more downstairs and there's more still in boxes. But if you know TK Maxx, if you know any of them, and the ones in Glasgow are pretty good, and if you know any of the ones elsewhere, then you know that sometimes they have books that you are just not going to find anywhere else, or if they are copies that you have seen elsewhere, they are usually a fraction of the price that you would get them anywhere else. But I actually managed to score pretty well. Again, not intending to buy any books at all, but I actually found... I'll be honest, there were Bronte sister books. There was like a collection, lovely hardback one, there was a Jane Austen book, and there was a couple of single Bronte sister ones, like there was the Wuthering Heights and a few others. It's not really my thing. Like, I have read Wuthering Heights, I've read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I appreciate them enough for what they are, but it's not really my wheelhouse, it's not my era of literature, so I wasn't going to just buy them for the sake of it. But if you are into them and you do live in Glasgow, then I do advise you to skedaddle straight to Argyle Street TK Maxx if you can. Not sure how long it's going to be between me saying this and actually getting the video out, but if they're there, they're there, so it was just to give you a heads up. But otherwise, I got this book that I was not anticipating getting, because I do have a very, very battered old paperback version of it. I think I literally got to the halfway mark and kind of gave up. I did start reading it 2015, early 2015 I would say, or ish. I think after I come back from Spain that summer, started reading it, and then that year, I can't remember if it was the first half or second. I think it was the second half of the year. Second semester I ended up actually taking a class in postmodernism, as you do at uni, and one of the things that you had to read was Ulysses by James Joyce. Now at that point I was actually on a crazy run of reading Joyce, you know, works that I had. I think the first thing I had was The Dubliners. Read that, absolutely loved that. But it's so completely different. It's so completely different to like what anything else that he does, because The Dubliners is all... The Dubliners for the first point is that it's very, very short compared to anything else that James Joyce has ever written. He was not a man who liked to pare down his words. So going from that book to then reading Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, which was a very, very challenging read, and as a person who does not like to DNF books if possible, it was a very difficult difficult thing trying to get through it. It was great for what it was. It is definitely literary fiction, not to say that in a way to put people off, but just to make you aware that it is dense in an intense way. Like, you have to really be focused when you're reading it. You probably, in order to get the most out of it, you need to maybe do a bit of reading around the literature, look for resources online and stuff. I think that's much the same for most of Joyce's work anyway. It's not necessarily something that you can just read and just get then and there. He does go off in tangents a lot. He does do what's called stream of consciousness writing, so there's the characters just go and go and go, and you can be pages and pages and pages in without them ever actually making a point, because they've just been saying a lot of stuff, which is kind of like how I talk. So, you know, if you can tolerate me, you can tolerate Joyce, it's fine. But I couldn't resist buying this because it's the beautiful Georgian doors. I think these are Georgian doors from Dublin, and yeah, it makes me miss and long for being in Dublin. Like, I loved it so much, and I've never seen this copy. It's not got like any sort of special edges or that, but I just love the fact that it's got this beautiful door, and then like the back is the little window, if you can see that, and then the tagline on the back: "History is a nightmare from which I am trying to awake." So poignant. Yeah, I really love it. So I'm excited. I think I will go back to it. I think this is my sign that I do need to go back to Joyce and go back to Ulysses altogether. If you are hearing the name Ulysses and you've ever read the Iliad, then you may know, because some of the translations of the Iliad actually don't call Odysseus Odysseus, they call him Ulysses, which is the apparently Latin form of Odysseus, because why not make it more confusing? So Ulysses is James Joyce, we'll say magnum opus. He's got a few, but I think this is probably the one that he's most known for. And this, not loosely, but does follow the story of Odysseus from even like the Odyssey. I think if you look up, when I did like the class on postmodernism, like part of it was to look up background material and extra material going around like how the story was formed, how each of the chapters do actually coincide with like the different books in the Odyssey of Odysseus trying to get home. It is set in Dublin though, but there's like a lot of poetic license taken. There's a lot of sort of contemporary things put in it. It is a completely different story. It can absolutely be read just on its own, but I think in order to get the full appreciation for what Joyce has actually achieved with this, it's kind of mind-blowing, and definitely worth having extra materials to go round about your reading of it. and I definitely want to get back to it now that I'm talking about it. It's very exciting, although I will say that after doing that class and after studying so much Joyce, I did struggle to then get back to actually doing any writing of my own, because it definitely became a feeling of, if I can't be Joyce, then what's the point of writing, which I know is just rubbish. Absolute rubbish, because there's plenty of amazing writers. Not everyone has to be Joyce. In fact, there only ever was one James Joyce, so why would we want to do it again? But yeah, so I love that, in case you didn't know. The next book that I got, this one's so beautiful. Looks like a hardback, is in fact a kind of hard, not even hard, it's like firm bound book, let's call it that. Ta-da! So this is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, and I just love it. Look at that. It's properly like meant to be. Absolutely meant to be looking like a kind of classic hardback that you'd find sitting on the shelves and that. So yeah, it's lovely. It's quite nice, quite big margins inside, because I know it's not actually a super long book at all, but partly the reason why I did buy this, aside from the fact that it is absolutely stunning cover, I got this because the original paperback copy that I had of it, I had taken it with me on holiday 10 years ago. I think it was 10 years ago, when I went to Belgium with my mum, and we were on the coach trip, and because it was quite a thin book, this was after I kind of got fed up with my Kindle, so I was wanting to just have actual books again. So it was quite a thin paperback book, and I had like a special bookmark in it that was made for me by someone special many years ago, and I'd taken it on holiday and I put it into, I had it on like the little table that comes down from the seat in front, and then between, you know, getting on and off at various stops and that, I'd kind of shoved the table up with the book still inside it. Completely forgot about it when we had to then change buses when we got to Hull, and I left the book on the bus, and honestly didn't even remember it for a couple of days, I think, because I remember when we got to Bruges, and that's when I suddenly realised that I'd left the book, and ended up having to, I went to find an English bookshop in Bruges and couldn't get this book at all, so I had to get another copy, another Jules Verne work. I think it was The Mysterious Island that I got. So yeah, that was my sad story about Jules Verne. I do actually have the giant collected works of Jules Verne, like the Barnes and Noble type edition, the leather bound one, but it's so stunning, and it's got like the gold leaf pages, and it's like the really thin crinkly paper, which for this bookworm is too good to read. I don't want to mess it up at all, and obviously the writing's like that size, so no, I shan't be reading from that. I'd rather just get the individual copies and keep that one as something that looks really good on my shelf. And this one is in plastic wrap, but I'm just going to quickly open it up because I don't want to, excuse me, I don't want it to not show up in the camera. I'm just trying to do it carefully so I don't damage anything. Haha. Okay, so this is, I think potentially this is one of the Barnes and Noble ones too. It says rock print. It does say US, so potentially is. Are you ready? Okay. The Complete Grimm's Fairy Tales. Now this is what you call a cover. This is absolutely stunning, and like even the edge, it's like the beautiful kind of antique style. This book's fine. And then the back cover, and obviously trying to entice me with other ones, but I think this can actually come off. Yeah, it says sticker is removable, so that's going to be a job for another day to take that off. Oh. Aside from the fact that this is absolutely stunning, I really had to buy it because I've got, I don't think it's definitely not the complete ones, but I've got a small book that I think's got some collected works of Grimm's fairy tales. So it's this selection of books that I got for being born, apparently. Yeah. I'll show you them in another video. So it's this lovely set of books, and it's all kind of like classic stories from way back when, so like classic literature stories, and Grimm's fairy tales is one of them. A lot of them are kind of, they were books that are classics, they are great books. I don't know if they're the unabridged versions. I will check that again, but for a child they were maybe a little bit too heavy, maybe a little bit too sad. So that is going to be a video for another time that I'm actually going to, my plan is at some point to actually put aside some time. I'll maybe check to see how many pages there are in that, and then see if I can actually start reading that collection, because I do have a lot of beautiful books and beautiful, you know, like books that I've collected or books that have been handed down to me for years, and it's just a shame if they don't ever get read because they're just sitting on the shelves. But the Grimm's fairy tales, this one, how could you say no? So it was literally half price of what it should have been. We're just over it. So it should have been £22 for this, and I got it for £12.99. So yeah, absolute bargain. And it's lovely and it's heavy. It feels so nice. So that was my little haul. It kind of made up for not getting my 3 for 2 in WH Smith. I'm quite sad about that. So yeah, in order to actually turn this into not just a haul video, because I was looking at books that, I mean these are all quite classic literature books actually, but because talking about books that have been on my shelves for a long time, not just sort of standalone books that have been on my shelves for a long time, but a big thing for my push for the last couple of months of this year is to try and to finally finish off series that I have started and not finished. I can't explain why, it just happens. One of the big ones that's been on me for ages is this. So this was Dreams of Gods and Monsters. This one is book 3 in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I never know what they're called. By Laini Taylor. So I have the 3, this is the 3rd book, I have the 3 of them. I have literally just finished this one yesterday, and I think you can see I had gotten up to there with this, and that took me, I think I started reading this one last November, and it was not for not enjoying it, and it's not for not enjoying the series, because I absolutely love this series, and it is a series that I could kick myself for waiting so long to read. I don't know, it was just something to do, I think partly because the writing's really small on it, and the book just doesn't, I don't know, hold right. So I kept avoiding going back to it, and I would try to read it but I would get distracted and stuff. So I eventually just thought I'll just, you know, get the audiobook for it. because I've been working a lot lately, I've still got a lot of stuff to do for the house and unpacking. I just thought I'll put on the audiobook and then I can listen to it up to about 1.8 speeds, and at least then it'll get me through. So I was pleasantly surprised when the narrator for it was actually quite good. Sometimes having a bad narrator just puts it off, but yeah, no, I had the audiobook on Spotify, yeah, and managed to make it work with the hours that you get, and yeah, getting through it, getting to the end, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's just so wistful, so sweet, so nice, so such not such a fantasy. This is what fantasy is, and I know these ones are older. I know these are from like the early 2010s. So this one was published in 2014. I think Doctor Smoke and Bone came out in 2012. Which funnily enough was the year I started uni. So I know fantasy, YA had a kind of pattern or a theme back then. There was a lot of stuff coming out that was quite similar. That was like your kind of Hunger Games era as well, but this still reads so well because it's nothing like anything else I've read. It is just so different. It was not anything like what I was expecting the story to be. The writing is so poetic, it's so nuanced, there's so much emotion conveyed in the descriptions and the talking of food, the chocolate, the cake, thank you Susanna, and just like the world building as well. Like the first book starts off set in Prague, in Czechia, and it was just such a wonderful setting for it to be. I haven't been to Prague yet, but it's definitely somewhere that's on my list. But I know people that have been that have just said it's so like old, otherworldly. It's just got this kind of magic to it. It's got something there, like in these wonderful old streets, and it's so unlike anywhere else as well. So I just thought that this was absolute perfect setting for such a wonderful fantasy story, because it's different from everywhere else that you get. There's so many other books, it's like set in, you know, is it New York, is it Chicago, is it Los Angeles, or you know, if it's in the UK, is it London or London. So this was just so wonderful. This was like a warm hug in a book or a trilogy, so I absolutely love this. I read book 1 and 2 literally back to back, but that was like a year and a half ago, so it was like a year ago in May, and it was one of those ones where I was like, oh, I need to read what the books that I've got. I need to actually go on with these. So I just like picked them up, started reading it, devoured the first book, went straight into the second book, and in the third book I was like, oh my god, I just can't. And I think I kept stopping myself from reading it, partly because I didn't want it to be over, but also partly because, I don't know, I was just somehow struggling with this actual physical copy of the book for so long. And even in spite of the fact that it opens up and there's a character called Eliza in it, do you think that would have made me read on? But it didn't until now. So yeah, this is one of my books that I'm so happy about, that I've finished the trilogy, so I can check off one more series on my list that I've now actually completed. Yay. Aside from that, another series that I'm trying to finish off, I started these last year, so this was one of my first videos that I did last year, oh my gosh, was the Red Queen series. So this is the last book. This is book number 4, War Storm, by Victoria Aveyard, and obviously if you watched the video from last year, You'll remember my utter confusion when I started reading Red Queen and discovered it's not vampires, it's nothing to do with vampires. I still think the covers make it look like it could be vampires, but I was thinking about it last night, and I think the reason why I thought it was vampires, because I'm thinking of like the Red Queen, or the Queen from the Red Court of Red Vampires in the Dresden Files, because there's the White Court, the Red Court and Black Court, I believe, of vampires. I love Dresden Files, it's been a while though. So I think that's what, it must have been that kind of put the idea in my head that I thought it was vampires. So I started reading it, and then it was dystopian fiction, and then yeah, a pleasant surprise, but like I do love my dystopian fiction, so I'm not too sad about that. So book four is a chunky book. Book 4 is heavy going. It is small writing again, very small writing, but it's a floppy book, so yeah, I'll be cool, I'll be okay with that. So this is like my next series that I'm trying to finish. There was also like was it a collection of shorts or something, a collection of or a novella that goes with it. I can't remember the name of it now, but I did buy that. Is it Broken Crown? I think it is. I bought that back in March, sorry. When Victoria Aveyard came to Edinburgh. I'm just seeing here that there was a novella collection, the Cruel Crown. I don't have that one. I think the other one I've got is Broken Crown. But yeah, Victoria Aveyard came to Edinburgh back in March, and I was there. I got utterly soaked because that was when Edinburgh was going through its let's try and flood everyone period, and I still had a really great time. But I was there for a couple of days, and between getting absolutely soaked, being freezing, and not having a big or heavy enough rain jacket, I ended up getting the cold quite bad. So these are the things that we do for going to see our favourite authors. But it was lovely, it was really nice to see her, and I got to meet her. Signed my copy of Bladebreaker. Got Bladebreaker signed. And I had just finished the last book. Yeah. Realm Breaker? No, that's not the last one. I'll put it here or something. The last book, yeah. So I finished that in a coffee shop literally 20 minutes before the event started. So when I met her and I said to her, like, I've just finished it. And she's like, wow, oh, you must be feeling some things right now. I'm like, that I am. Yeah, so the things we do as book lovers. I also had another author that weekend. On the Saturday I managed to go see Bethany Hughes as well, and I got her book 7 Wonders of the Ancient World that is conveniently not here, it's downstairs. But I will show that in another video because that's going to be one of my non-fiction reads. But she was also equally delightful and lovely, but it was also equally as rainy and cold and disgusting, and really kind of proliferated the cold that I had and ended up being ill for a week. But it was fine because I got to meet 2 authors in the 1 week. Who doesn't love that? Going back to the other books that I'm currently reading, because I'm just reading everything at this point. I have, I think I showed it in my last video, the Archipelago by John Foote. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Hang on. This one! The Archipelago by John Foote. Italy since 1945. I found it. This one had went missing in my move. So I'm actually on page 355 right now, and with non-fiction books there's like a lot of notes. A lot of notes at the end. So I am actually that much away from finishing there, and that much is just notes. So I'm really close to finishing it, and I really can't wait to be finished it, because it is so good. Don't get me wrong, it is absolutely so good. The content, however, it's hard. It's why I don't tend to read much modern history. It's hard to reconcile it. I think for me that some of the issue with modern history is things that are within living memory, yes, but at least within my lifetime, you know, prior to me being conscious enough to know anything about world events and that, it's quite disturbing to think that you think, oh, that's never going to happen here, or you know, we wouldn't do that in this time, and then like you read about stuff and it's like that has happened, that still does happen, and yeah, it's gnarly, it's not fair. But yeah, like reading, there's a lot of sad things actually. There's so many sad things that have happened in Italy. There's so many bad things, so many, I don't know, just events that you think like shouldn't have happened or could have been avoided, or you know, if people had actually had, if the people in power actually had the rights of the people, or the wishes or the thoughts of the people in mind before they actually did things, then how might Italy have been different if they'd actually been looked after by people in power that actually cared about the people. Wild concept, I know. Makes you long for the days of the Romans. But talking Romans, I've got this one as well. So there's a nice change from like modern depressing history to ancient sort of also depressing history. So this one is one I got a while ago, a long while ago. I think the receipt's still on here. Oh, 20th of December 22. So this would have been a Christmas present. So that's not that bad actually. So I've just realised this is Yale University Press actually. And the author is Guy de la Bédoyère. And it's called Domina, and it's about the women who made Imperial Rome. It is not one of those books that came out a couple of years ago. You know, the ones it's like, you know, 21 inspired women, these women did this, because when I did end up getting quite a few of them, and a lot of them it ended up being all the same women, because there was never like how are you actually what parameters are you using to do this, or are you just taking, you know, the top 21 women that meet your own whatever criteria. And I think that it's, whilst I'm not saying that it's not good, I'm not saying that there's not, you know, women that are in these books aren't deserving of being there, but it's just when you look at a lot of the ones that are in it, and again it goes back to class, it goes back to wealth, it goes back to what opportunities were they given that other people wouldn't be given at all. So it makes it a bit, it's a little bit tough to swallow some of those ones, and it would be good if we could get something, you know, a type of book. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe there is one that has been written subsequently, but it would be great to see like more stories of like working class women, or any like women that have not had the best start out in life as well, and how they managed to still do great things. Because I think that's the real point that we need to get across, is that it doesn't matter about your background so much, it's what you do. But obviously you have to be aware that there is always going to be things that you don't get, there's going to be opportunities that you miss out on if you are working class versus someone that's more connected. I.e. a Nepo baby, perhaps. But yeah, so the Domina book is delightful in the sense that he has actually managed to go through all the women of Imperial Rome, and looking at how they experienced, you know, like the kind of, from the fall, like Livia especially, like the fall of the Roman Republic into the dawning of the Roman Empire. And Livia, what a character, like wife of Augustus, had already been married pre-Augustus, had her own children. Augustus had Julia, and then sadly enough they were married for most of their lives, but then never actually were able to have any children together, which is why Augustus had so many issues himself then trying to get an heir to the not throne. I started this one on audiobook as well, just because it was there, and if you do read at all non-fiction books, you will know the writing is minuscule. It's so tiny. It's not readable, put it that way, but it's just if you're having a day or a couple of days or a week or a month and it's just like eyes are never going to focus on that, I do recommend getting audiobook instead. And yeah, I have got up to chapter 5, so now we've got more of Livia as she becomes mother of the emperor. Yeah, the mother of the emperor after her son Tiberius succeeded Augustus. So when she stops being wife of the emperor and becomes mother of the emperor, and it's kind of how things kind of change about for her. But Livia, the rock star that she is, actually ended up living till 86. Who knew? Like that is wild even for our days. Like that's a life. That's what you call incredible. Like even for our day and age. But yeah, back then, wow, amazing. So yeah, I'm not finished this at all, but I definitely highly recommend it. I know that this author's pretty well versed and he knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. I've got a couple other ones. It just says he's known for his many books in the Roman world. I've got a few of his other books as well. I think I've got one, I can't remember the name of it, but I've got a couple of his books. Definitely will pick up more whatever else he brings out, hopefully soon, because they're really good. I really love getting kind of different aspect, and plus I think it's something quite special that there's a guy that's managing to like research and find out about the Roman women, because if you know anything about how Roman women were meant to be, it was essentially seen and not heard, and that's how you were a good Roman woman, including for the Roman women of the empire essentially. So those that were related to or linked to the emperors and those within power, they were not really meant to be perceived ever at all. They were supposed to be there to like make babies, I guess, raise the babies that they've had and that are survived, and they were never really meant to be anything or do anything, and if they were being anything and doing anything and being talked about us and perceived us, that made them bad Roman women. So that's where it's difficult to then get the sources on women, because if they were behaving themselves they weren't written about, and if they weren't behaving themselves they were written about, but it's hard to tell whether any of it was true or whether it was literally just slander for the sake of it, and whether the sources themselves were just the sources that are extant are actually written several hundred years after the fact, after the women are already dead, simply because somebody picked up on another comment that another contemporary historian or writer made at the time that again could just be conjecture and hearsay. It's difficult, it's really difficult. But we know about Julia a lot. Potentially a lot of what was said about Julia was quite, you know, slanderous and misogynistic. So much that was written about Julia probably was somewhere between, you know, just contemptuous gossip and slander. Probably also like grains of truth in it as well, because she kind of knew the corner that she was backed into. She knew what her lot in life was meant to be, but on the other hand she also recognised that she only had this one life, so she did kind of want to try and live how she wanted to live, and then she died young anyway, so them's the breaks. So as a last parting point, something that pairs very, very well with Domina is another book about Roman women. Ish. I have another book on Roman women. This is not that book, but this one is Emma Southon, A History of the Roman Empire in 21 Women. So I think this is going to be in a similar vein. Obviously this is about the imperial women. This is literally the history of the Roman Empire. So this is going way, way back to like 750 BC, I think we've got them. Yeah. So it's like when it was the OG kingdom. So 750 BC, so it was when you had the 7 kings of Rome. But this is Tarpeia and Hersilia, the traitor and the patriot. So this is going back to when it was like Romulus and Remus and like the foundation of Rome. So this one I am very, very excited about. Not just because of the actual content, obviously that too. However, if you have not read anything by Emma Southon yet, go fix it. Go do it. She has other books. Go get them. Because you will not be sorry. Like, if you like humour, if you like history, and if you like history and humour together, you need to read this. And you need to read her other books too. Go get. I love these. I absolutely love these. So first book that I read by her, so it was A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Murder in Ancient Rome. I read that book and loved it so much. I read that book, loved it so much that a week after finishing it, I just went to Rome. I have been to Rome before, but something about that book and coming out of lockdowns, it just gave me this little kick. And I had a week off for my birthday as well, but it was that book and I was like, oh my god, I have to go back. Thanks, Emma. You get, and I blame her, I freely blame her for it. I'm sure she'll be fine with that. So that one is definitely great. If you know anything about ancient Rome, you know they were very murdery. Stabby was the way to go. So get that one, definitely get that one. And her other book, Agrippina, Empress, Exile, Hustler and Whore. Such a good book. Both of them such a good book. But also so much like sitting with a friend. Sitting with like a really knowledgeable, cool friend who's talking to you about ancient history but is not lecturing at you. You're just having this cool catch up and chatting about stuff and you're learning things and they're making you laugh so much so that you have to like go dry your eyes and not fall off the chair, and then you just want to like do it all over again. I would really definitely reread those books because they're so funny. I actually think that I don't have my copies here. I'm pretty sure I don't have my copies here because I loaned them out to people who found them so funny they loaned them to other people, which I'm okay with that. If it gives everyone a good laugh and it gets them interested in ancient history, or like gets them knowing more about ancient Rome, then I'm cool with that. So yeah, I think that's where we're at for today. So yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed some of the books that I've shown you today. I hope you enjoyed my little haul. I hope you share my disappointment I never got my third thing in my 3 for 2. Never got over it. And yeah, you know, if you're interested in any of the books that I've got, if you're interested in any of the books that I'm currently reading, please let me know if you want to know anything else about them, or if you think that you might get them as well, or actually if you have already read them and want to share in the excitement because I'm reading them too, please also let me know that. And anything else, please leave any comments down below. And yeah, if you have enjoyed this rambling video all about books and pens and Rome, then please hit subscribe and give me a wee like as well. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!